to 1 year ago. Since then, my worst fears have been realized. The racism and misogyny that is deeply embedded in our culture, and the income inequality that has created a crisis for our democracy. You cannot have a true democracy when the richest 1% of the United States now own more wealth than the bottom 90%. We have a political system where money decides who wins an election and who stays in power. And as Will Rogers said, we have the best Congress money can buy. And when politicians are dependent on big donors, their job is not to represent us, the people, but to represent their donors. And this is what happened with the Republican tax bill, the tax giveaway to the richest people and corporations in our country. This added $1.5 trillion to our deficit, which will be used as an advance on an agenda to undermine our social safety net, force more Americans off of health care, and raise the issue of privatizing Medicare and Medicaid. And when you deny something as big as global warming, which, by the way, is already destroying the homes and lives of thousands and thousands of third world people, as well as creating havoc in the United States, to deny global warming, you must deny science. They don't want to even use the term anymore, science-based or evidence-based. And when you deny science, you must deny and suppress truth itself. And when you deny truth, you must attack the truth tellers by calling them fake news and enemies of the people, a phrase used by dictators such as Stalin and Hitler to delegitimize anyone who opposes them. But I don't want to bum you out here. All hope is not lost. I want you to know that although some of my worst fears have been realized, there's also some of my most fervent hopes have come to be realized. Last year, women and our allies made history with the largest protest in U.S. history. 6 million people worldwide marched, and 3,000 here in Dayton, and I think we've got at least that much today. Throughout the past year, people fought back against intolerance, against inhumanity of denying health care to millions, and against attacks on human and civil rights and even on science. We tied up the phones of our elected representatives. We rallied in the streets, in the airports, in the very halls of Congress. Here in Ohio, we collected thousands of signatures to put an amendment on the ballot that would end gerrymandering. And I want every one of you to sign that petition before you leave. There's people in the crowd with petitions. There's also petitions on this and a lot of information over in the collaboratory. So be sure to stop by there before you leave today so you can sign that petition. But best of all, we are still here today, still ready to fight and to carry on our struggle. And with the 2018 midterms ahead, we now have the chance to elect women and men who will truly serve the people. And I have a hope that against all odds, if all of us get involved and work from now until November, people power will triumph over the power of wealth and greed. So, it's my privilege today to present some dynamic speakers who will share what we've done so far and where we need to go.
My name is Sheherazadh Ishaq. It's like Isaac, but with a soft H. So, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. You reply to me, wa alaikum salam. Okay, so I'm here representing the Muslim community. Yay. And this is my daughter, Riza. So as Muslims, we believe that everything happens for a reason. Yes, even Trump. Okay. You don't have to believe in God to know that this is true. All right? Admittedly, it helps because you have another power to sort of blame things on. But yes, things happen for a reason. My presence here today is proof of that. Your presence here today is proof of that. We have people power, and we have gathered, as Joy said, to form the largest rallies in the history of the United States. The overwhelming response to the so-called Muslim ban is testimony to it. As we stand here today, 5 major lawsuits are making or have made their way through the courts, and frustrated with the outcome of those and others, the Trump administration has had to amend their bigoted terms twice, and now the case has gone to the Supreme Court. And we must hope and pray that although the courts are a little skewed, that they will stand for justice and stand against bigotry. Thousands rallied at airports across the country. The first started in New York at JFK, but protests quickly spread across the country. From Denver to Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Indianapolis, Boston, Albuquerque, Hartford, Albany, San Diego, and countless other places, including here in Dayton. Protesters were mobilized mainly through social media, but groups came together to protest against something that was patently unfair and against the very principles upon which this country was founded. Those people did not drop what they were doing because they had nothing better to do, right? We all know that. They did it to stand in solidarity and protest against the blatant bigotry of the ban, also known as Order 13769. Groups mobilized their members, to name just a few: Jews for Racial and Economic Justice, Black, Latino, Asian Caucus, the Hemo Immigrant Aid Society, the New York Taxi Workers Alliance, so many others. Countless numbers of lawyers dropped what they were doing to file briefs on behalf of those stranded at the airport. Now, lawyers are not known for doing things for free, but these ones did. Trump himself may not have rallied us, but the blatant injustice did. For too long, marginalized communities have accepted the status quo. But when we come together, we can do what no amount of cheating and money can. We can change the system. We can stand together again, united against hate, injustice, bigotry, racism, abuse, religious intolerance, and gender inequality. So yes, the 2016 election results were disappointing, but perhaps we should look at it as the impetus, those of us that sat on the sidelines watching, but not acting, feeling bad, but not doing, to say, no, that is not right. That is not fair. And I will add my voice and support those that either haven't got one or can't speak loud enough. And most importantly, and in this democracy, I will vote. Say it with me, people. I will vote. Thank you very much.
I will vote. I will vote. I will vote. I will vote.
And I'm Dr. Catherine Lambus, and I'm excited for my another amazing Women's March today. Woo! I represent Span, Ohio, but I also work for Community Health Center here in Dayton. Woo! There will be a lot of speakers today focusing specifically on women's issues, so forgive me if I speak a little bit on health issues that impact everyone today, because I took an oath to care for everyone, regardless of age, race, disability, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, country of origin, or just the ability to pay. And so we are here to say goodbye to 2017 and the attacks on our healthcare gains. Last year's theme was, "We will not go back." And so we say goodbye to the American Health Care Act, goodbye to every state and national bill that would take women's health care back to the 1950s. We hardly knew you, and yet we still knew you were bad for America. In 2017, you tried to take away care from 700,000 Ohioans and hurt our children, our parents, and our disabled neighbors. So I say today, good riddance. 2017 was a year of defense. You defended the ACA and women's rights. Thank you. But 27 million Americans still have no insurance at all. And funding for community health centers, like the one I work for, is constantly under threat. Even our local nonprofit hospital systems no longer have any accountability for where they build and where they shut down in our communities. It is a disgrace that a major hospital group is talking about closing a key hospital and functionally eliminating access to health care for thousands of our neighbors in West Dayton, while building huge additions to suburban locations where they know they can simply make more money. And leadership in Washington still think it's okay to hold the lives of children hostage by not permanently funding CHIP. And so I introduce you today to this year's theme, We Will Persist. 2018 must be the year that we go on offense. We can no longer settle for defending past gains. We must push ahead and expand women's access to vital healthcare services. We must work to expand healthcare access to all Americans through a universal healthcare system. Yeah. Because GoFundMe page is not a healthcare system. We don't have to argue about mandates if we simply give healthcare to everyone in this country. That is why Span, Ohio was not just sitting back and defending the ACA last year, but we persisted in 2017 and working to pass legislation to cover all Ohioans. And I'd like to give special thanks today to Ohio State Senators Michael Skindell and Assistant Minority Leader Charlita Tavares, who introduced Ohio's Single-Payer Bill 91 in 2017. And also, special thanks to Ohio House Representatives Theresa and Bernadine Kennedy Kent, who introduced Ohio's Single-Payer Bill 440 in December of 2017 in the State House. But if we pass single-payer nationwide, we would have the power to fight back 300 million strong against drug companies that would gouge us and hold our lives hostage for profit. Because we will not sit idly by and wait to defend against the next attack. We must attack back. Because we will persist. Women are running for office, women are organizing, and women vote. We are mothers, we are daughters and sisters, and we will persist. We will send a clear message that if you attack women and our families and our health care, then you will be voted out. Because we will persist. We will persist. We will persist. Thank you.
Patience Patience, not profits. Patience, not profits. Patience, not profits. That's what we need. I'd like to introduce Felicia Hill, who's with the NAACP, an organization she tells me has been here in Dayton for 101 years, carrying on the fight.
This is absolutely beautiful. I am my sister's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. My name is Felicia Hill. I am the health chair with the NAACP. One of my champions that I want to absolutely see today is the register to vote if you're not, because your voice is absolutely your vote. So today I want to also concentrate on mental health issues, because we have organizations that are shutting down and understand that it's connected to our well-being. Our mental health is our wealth. So therefore, what we need to do collectively together is continue to champion, because one of the great demise in our country is that we do not concentrate on that. And it affects women more than any other population in our country. So when it affects women, it affects our family. When it affects our family, it affects our cities. When it affects our cities, it affects our states. When it affects our states, it affects our nations. So attack on healthcare is attack on all of us. So vote, vote, vote. Tell your neighbor, vote, vote, vote. I am my sister's keeper.
Okay, and I'd like to introduce Alicia Pagan with the League of United Latin American Citizens, who's been working for years and years. Here's you.
Hi, thanks, Tim. Hola, Dayton. Hola, mujeres del Miami Valley. Hola, hombres de corazón y bravura para las mujeres. Welcome, welcome women of Dayton. Welcome men of bravery and strength to stand up alongside our women. My name is Alicia Lawrence Lopez Pagan Acevedo Martinez Gonzalez Rodriegez. I am Puerto Rican. I am an American citizen. I am not from another country. I am your sister citizen. In Puerto Rico, we have a little frog called the coqui. Every evening at dusk, the coqui frog sings, and it sounds like this. Can everybody go? That's the song of the coqui frog. Our ancestors told us that a long time ago, the coqui frog fell asleep. Its stories, its values, its tradition of the great Taino people went to sleep with that frog. And they told us that over 500 years from that day, the frog would sing again, and the people would remember who they were. And on our little island, oh, and if you don't know where Puerto Rico is, it's that little island with a bunch of big water around it. And when the Maria, the hurricane, came to the island, one little coqui frog stood up to speak power, truth against power. Carmen Yulín Cruz was the little coqui frog singing to the world. We are here. We are a part of you. And your inability to lead is killing us. People have died in Puerto Rico, and people are still struggling in Puerto Rico. And we are calling on our brothers and sisters, fellow Puerto Ricans who have voting right power here in the United States, to not be silent. And we are asking for our allies to stand up and not be silent, because our silence is complicity, and we have no time to sit and wait for someone else to do the work. Our time is now, ladies and gentlemen. Over 200,000 Puerto Ricans have served in the U.S. military from that little island. Over 200,000 have served. 900 currently serve who are undocumented, who don't have a voice. We are their voice. And so what's happening right now in our great state of Washington, our democracy, our seat of democracy, is that there's a power struggle going on. And we will not stand silent. And we will not be abused by a abuser. And so it is time for us to say, me too, because we're all getting screwed. And time is up. The time is up. So stand up, make your voices heard. Your voice is your vote. Do not let someone else take your voting power away, though they are trying to do that, because if you decide not to vote, they want to take you off the voting rolls. Hell no! It is our time to speak, and our time is now. And we thank everyone who has stood up behind their indigenous, their Latino, their immigrant, and their fellow human beings who are a part of this great country that came out of the blood of immigrants. Those who were here standing in this country saying, yes, this is our land. Those who were killed to stand up for their land. Now is our time to say this country belongs to the diversity of this country. And no one will take that democratic right away from us, no matter how sick they are. Please go to LULAC Dayton to find out about the activities that we are involved in. LULAC Facebook. And you can find out and contact us for our meetings. We welcome our allies and our Latino community voices to stand up and take our democracy back.
So that's lulacdayton.org is our website, LULAC Dayton on Facebook. My name's Summer McGuire, and man, I'm so proud of my mom. And my beautiful little one, Maddie McGuire, standing right here next to me. I couldn't be more proud to stand next to each and every one of you. We got this, people.
One last thing. I got to leave you with a Dolores Huerta quote. Okay. Ay, carajo. Okay, so Dolores said her last quote today was for women. Bring your children. My granddaughter's here. I love seeing all the young people. Millennials, you are overtaking the baby boomers. We need your help. Millennials, get out there and get the vote. And as Cesar Chavez said, once a man has been educated, you cannot uneducate them. 2016, 17, and 18 is our Education Democracy 101. We know what racism smells like, feels like, and looks like. Now stand up against it and own our democracy.
Good afternoon. I think we need to say it again. Time's up. My name is Stacey Benson-Taylor, and I am the Regional Director of AFSCME Ohio Council 8. Question mark. Oh, we have some AFSCME over there. That is the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, and we represent nearly 4,000 union members and bargaining unit employees here in Montgomery County. I've often said that the civil rights movement and the labor movement go hand in hand. But I am here to tell you that the civil rights movement, the labor movement, and the women's rights movement go hand in hand. Women make up 45% of the employees that are covered by unions. 45%. So we cannot negotiate benefits without negotiating those same benefits for women. Women that are covered under a collective bargaining agreement make $212 on average more per week than non-covered employees. Those are women's rights. I'm here to tell you that the union is fighting for benefits such as sick leave, vacation, equal pay for all workers. Those are women's rights. The union has been under attack. Because there are people who believe that women don't deserve those rights. And we are fighting them. They believe that the term right to work can trick you into believing that you don't need a union. But I'm here to tell you that the union is fighting for your rights, and right to work is wrong. Right to work is going to take away people's right to have collective bargaining. It's going to take away people's right to have someone step in and collectively help them negotiate their wages, their benefits, their health care. We need collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is not about fighting only for people who are in unions. Collective bargaining and the labor movement is about lifting the bar for everyone. See, 47% of the workforce here in the United States, that's women. 47%. Unfortunately, 2/3 of the workers who make minimum wage are women. So we're half of the working population, but more than half of the minimum wage earners. Something is wrong with that picture. And if you are in the service industry and you make a cash wage, that's $2.13. That is not a living wage. Your tips cannot give you a living wage, and we need to do more. See, the fight against working families crosses over. See, we've been convinced that we're against each other. So it may be black and white, it may be short and fat, it may be rich and poor, but that's a distraction. And we will not be distracted. We will stay focused. We will focus on better health insurance. We will focus on better wages. We will focus on sick leave. We will focus on living wages and equal pay for women. The labor movement is committed to raise the bar for all people, not just the people in the inner circle or the 1%. That's not enough. And so we have to be committed to get out to vote. We have to be committed to hold our elected officials accountable. Because see, I wear this button that says Union Thug. And I actually received it from a little old lady that was out picketing. And what that tells me is that the fight never ends. And so until we make the same pay, and until we're respected the same, and until we have the same voice, then labor will continue to work for working families. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alicia Rodriegez, and I'm a leader of DIFA, Dayton, Indivisible for All. And this is Ellie Tripp, one of our founding leaders. We emerged after the 2016 election. In January, Ellie and her Wright State classmates felt a call to action. So based on the National Invisible Guide, they created a Facebook page for DIFA. 1 year ago this weekend, they passed out flyers for the first meeting and planted a seed for the last year of resistance. And many of you have participated in that, and I thank you. We organize rallies, office visits, town halls, press conference, daily calls to actions, but it's all of you that made the biggest impact. You called, you sent letters, you faxed, you emailed, you visited your reps, you made signs, you just plain showed up. In DC last year, there were hundreds of thousands marching, over 600 sister cities. Now it's 1 year later, and we're still here. We will not be silent. We are not backing down. The rhetoric that came last year, before last year's march, has turned into policies that impact some of the most vulnerable, marginalized communities in our country. We need to continue to resist and advocate for issues regarding healthcare, inequality, sexual abuse, voter suppression, immigration, racial justice, LGBTQ, reproductive rights, people with disabilities, and the list goes on. We need to be there for people of color, like our Black, Muslim, Latina, and Native American sisters. We need to be there for them early and often. We have to stand up for people like Felicia, an Inglewood woman who is currently in fear of being deported. Her daughter Sarah, who is a dreamer and is anxiously awaiting for the fate of DACA. And for Sabrina Jordan, mother of Jamarco, who suddenly was shot and killed, for all of the people who had no voice or feel like they have no voice. I thank all of you who committed, kept persisting, but we're not done. 2017 was the year of the resistance, but 2018 is the year of the woman. Our efforts have been to hold our elected officials accountable, make our voices heard, a movement largely led by women. In 2017, 15,000 women signed up for She Should Run. 25,000 signed up for Emily's List. That's 25 times more than 2016. And in November, in Virginia, they elected their first African American, openly gay, openly trans, and Latino women to office. And this last Tuesday in Wisconsin, a woman picked up a Senate seat by 11 percentage points that was previously won by the GOP by 26 points in 2016. Voting in elected officials that represent us, that will engage the community and harness energy to advocate for policies is what we must do in 2018. So my call to action for you today is to volunteer, to donate to a campaign, sign their petitions, register people to vote. Like mentioned before, the candidates and organizations will have tables in the collaboratory, so please come join us after the event. Voting is our superpower. And we must power to the polls. For that reason, I'm excited that next we're going to hear from a group of amazing women that are running for local office. Yes! First up is Theresa Gasper. She is running for Congressional District 10 to challenge Representative Mike Turner. We spent the last year asking, where's Mike? Now I'm proud to say, here's Theresa.
I think the first thing we need to do is try to move this up here a little bit. Melissa, thank you so much. Joy, Sue, all of the organizers, thank you. Thank you so much. To all the women who have been speaking here today, thank you so much for your passion, your dedication, and your commitment, not just to your cause, but to our community. And thank you to all of you for showing up. That's half the battle, is just showing up. You know, in November of 16, I joked that I felt like I was the liberal crisis hotline, because all of my friends and family were calling saying, Theresa, how did this happen? In December, I still had no clue, but I realized that I needed to just figure something out, and I was working too hard at it. So I decided to step into that proverbial river and go with the flow and see where it led me. Well, in January, it led me to DC, to the Women's March. And boy, was I proud when I saw on Twitter everybody here. We had no clue what was going on. We couldn't move where we were. In February, it led me to the Sister Giant Summit. And Marianne Williamson said, too many of us feel that politics is dirty and ugly and nasty and toxic. And maybe that's because we aren't showing up with our love and our light. Others spoke of love being perceived as weak, as too soft. If you believe that, I ask you to stand between a mama bear and her cubs. Love is fierce, love is tough, and sometimes love says, oh, hell no. That November, we woke up stunned in disbelief. Last January, we marched and we told the world, hell no. We spent the last year burning up servers and switchboards and fax machines in our representatives' offices, demanding that they listen to us. Sometimes they did, but often they didn't. So now we've lost net neutrality. We've lost some of our public lands. Many will lose access to affordable health care. And now in our community, we're losing a hospital. And how many people woke up this morning losing a paycheck because Congress can't figure out how to do their job and come up with a 2-year budget? But let's talk about what we have gained. We have gained our resolve. We have gained our voice. We have gained a greater appreciation of our country and of our democracy. And we have gained a greater sense of our obligation to future generations. In January last year, we showed DC that we were not happy. And we all know when mama ain't happy, there ain't nobody happy. We spent the year putting them on notice. And now we're coming for their jobs. People like me, like Kim, like Carolyn, like Susan, and thousands of others across the country. We gave them the chance to clean up their act, and instead they became drunk with power. Now we will do what women typically do. We will go in and clean up a mess that somebody else created. We are 51% of the population, and now, more than ever, a woman's place is in the House and in the Senate. But not to take over, to establish balance, to teach the world that collaboration, cooperation, and compromise are not four-letter words. We cannot obstruct our way to governing any more than we can resist our way to compromise. Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different outcome. Amen. Amen. It is time for a new way, a different way with a sane outcome. A way that takes the best ideas from all parties and merges them into solutions that help the many instead of the few. And women will lead that charge. It started last year when we took to the streets, and it continues today as we take their seats. In December 1 year ago, I decided to go with the flow. It led me to my first march, and now it has led me to my first run. My name is Theresa Gasper. I am a small business owner. I'm the 5th generation of my father's side in the family to live in Dayton, specifically in South Park. I am running for the U.S. Congress for the Ohio 10th District. I am here, and I hear you. And I promise you, if you elect me in November, the people of D.C. will hear you too. Thank you.
If you don't know who Kim McCarthy is, I don't know where you've been. My friend Kim McCarthy is running in Greene County in the 73rd District against Rick Perales for state rep. Kim McCarthy.
Wow. Hello, Miami Valley!
I am so grateful to be a part of this incredible moment where people recognize that change has to happen. I thank you for caring, and I thank you for standing together here today. For me, I'm standing here today because in November of 16, I made the decision to dedicate just a few hours a week to paying attention to my local county government. I stood up at their meetings, I questioned their actions, and I got others to join me. It didn't take long to learn that the 3 wealthy white males that sat on this board did not share my same values of dignity, respect, and compassion for others. So one day, while questioning them once again from the podium on yet another dubious choice, the chairperson suggested to me that if I didn't like their decisions, that I should run for office myself. So I not only decided to run for office, I decided to run for the office above those men. It is so necessary right now to have more women in power. We have seen what perpetual control by a white male majority has done for our country because we live it every day. With unequal pay, restrictions to control over our own health care, harassment in the workplace, and systematic racism and sexism everywhere. And, I'm looking out over this crowd and I see many different faces, and behind each of those faces is a story. My story is that I'm a 48-year-old divorced mother of 3 wonderful children. I'm also an accountant, a small business owner who immigrated here from Australia in 1994. And I recognize that we all have different stories, but I want to sit at that same table with you and hear them. If you're a woman of color, an indigenous woman, an immigrant from another country, whatever you are, all of our stories need to be heard in the State House. And I will carry your story with me as I, along with thousands of other women across the country, take the seats back into the hands of the people in 2018. Yes! But I can't do this alone. I want to walk alongside you as we light a path forward for our children, for the planet, for the right for all to live a life with dignity. Yet widening income inequality threatens to cripple our society. Racial injustice divides us. But we are not engaged in a left versus right fight here. This is top versus bottom. So we must come together and we must fight for a government that will protect its people and our natural resources from the greedy CEOs that want nothing more than to have it all, regardless of the cost to us and our society. Growing up in Australia, I had access to so many of the things that we are now fighting for. Universal health care, a living wage, free college. So I have seen the difference it makes to a person's frame of mind when illness just means illness, not financial ruin. I've seen the difference it makes to the quality of a person's life when they don't have to go into work because they are sick and they can't afford to stay home. When paid leave means that a new parent can take the time to welcome a new child into this world, our whole society benefits. And now that I'm an American by choice, I know that we deserve these same things here. We do. So I'm on this path because I just happened to make one small decision to show up at a county meeting. And here I am, 12 months later, running for office. Imagine what we could all do together if we just all decided to commit to a few hours a week to strengthening our democracy. I've dedicated myself to standing up for the people here at home, and I will carry that dedication to the state level, where I will push hard for policies that improve the lives of every Ohioan. No campaign will be successful, though, without a massive grassroots support system working alongside us. So please, consider committing yourself to the cause. This is our moment to shine so we can bring about the change that our country so badly needs. Thank you.
Our next candidate speaking has been a pillar in the community. She spent the last 11 years as our Montgomery County Treasurer, and now we have the honor to have her running as our Montgomery County Commissioner. I'd like to introduce Carolyn Rice.
Hello, my name's Carolyn Rice, and I am a candidate for Montgomery County Commissioner. I am absolutely thrilled to be here on the first anniversary of the historic 2017 Women's March. I was lucky enough to join 500,000 women and men, but lots and lots of women, in Washington, D.C. last year. Woo! We joined our voices with the thousands also gathered right here last year in Courthouse Square, as well as marches in hundreds of cities across the globe. I heard a number that it was 5 million all around the globe. How many of you were at a march, no matter where it was last year? Wow. Well, whether you were here in Dayton or Washington, D.C. or somewhere else, you know that those gatherings were inspiring. I wanted to be there because I knew we were making history. I wanted to tell my great-grandchildren I showed up. But even more than that, I wanted to make sure that the voices of women, our concerns, and our views are heard. And we were thousands of people together, women, men, all ages, races, communities. We showed the world the power we have when we show up. Now, for many of us, and you've heard Theresa's stories and other stories, that inspiration moved us to action. I've been the Montgomery County Treasurer for the past 11 years, but I've been inspired to do more. I believe in public service. I believe in helping people. And I believe in showing up. We have power, and we must take it to the polls. Now, in order to make a difference, we must show up. Whether it's a rally like today, we must show up. Whether it's making the phone calls for our candidates or our issues, or knocking on doors, we must show up. Whether it's standing for election ourselves or serving on a committee, we must show up. Whether it's helping get a neighbor to the polls and certainly making sure we vote ourselves, we must show up. This is what democracy looks like. It looks like you, it looks like me, it looks like people we know, and it looks like people we don't know. But most importantly, it's about showing up. Now, I'm honored to be here today with you and the rest of the leaders that we have heard from, and we need to all support those efforts. But I'm telling you, they and I can only succeed if we take our power to the polls. But how do we make that happen? We must show up again. We must show up. A third time, we must show up. I'm Carolyn Rice. I'm so excited for this year, and I want you all to show up.
Our last speaker that I want to introduce is an icon of Dayton history and a shining example of woman power. An amazing person. Former Mayor Ryan McLean was the first woman mayor of Dayton, elected in 2002. Before that, she served 6 years in the Ohio House of Representatives, and she was also the first African-American woman to serve in the Ohio Senate. where she was selected to serve as the minority whip and 2 years later the Senate minority leader. She's a powerful woman who's still deeply involved in lots of political organizations. She also hosts a radio show on WDAO called Fluff and Stuff, and is a host for the Funk Chronicles on DATV to promote the Funk Museum here in Dayton, Ohio. So this woman has been doing women power and running for office and just doing an amazing job for Dayton and the state of Ohio for years and years. So here she is, former Mayor Ryan McClin.
Well, thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here with all of you women and Renaissance men. Okay? Because it takes a very powerful man to be equal to a woman. But I brought with me some guests. And I want you to welcome them because they have something to say to you, and then I have some final words.
Hi everybody, my name is Amina, I'm an American citizen and I'm a registered voter. Hello, my name is Samaya, I'm an American citizen and I'm also a registered voter.
Hi, my name is Zakia, I'm an American citizen and I'm also a registered voter.
Hi, my name is Sayla. I'm 14, so obviously I can't vote. But I think that other young people like me who can't vote, they should still go out and fight for what they believe in, because we want to control our future. We don't want middle-aged white men to control our future.
Hi, my name is Aaron Lewis. I am 18 years old and a registered voter. This is my first year being able to vote, and with that, the reason I think it's important for as a first year to vote is because as a queer individual, I'm giving power back to myself. I'm giving not only for queer, but for the heterosexual people out there too. I'm giving power to them as well for all of the misjust and rights that they deserve as well. Thank you.
Please give my friends another round of applause. We've heard so many things today about health care, education, women's rights, the power of the vote. And I just want to sum this up, that America is one of hope and promise, a place where you can do anything, no matter your skin color, your religion, your sexuality, or who your parents are. My story is embodied as an African American woman that has risen above it. It hasn't been easy, but because of us as a people, with one blood, we all bleed red. And so the importance of moving forward is to be there. Don't stop now. This may be the end of this program, but it is the continuing beginning of our movement. Thank you.